Okay. Well, let us begin. Switch OBS off of studio mode, and now we can get into the hobby hang. Nothing too fancy, guys. Just continuing the Fire Dragons. The plan for today is to do some edge highlighting on this guy to hopefully bring his armor up to a level that looks similar to this first guy I did. I guess hit all the yellow details, like, or finish all the yellow components, like the helmet, ammo canister, and do the fusion guns, various colors and components so that they look like this Autarchs here. We'll see. That's the goal, right? We'll see how things proceed. Punkstar 911. You are indeed first. Thanks for tuning in. I actually am a little late setting up here, so I don't have all my necessary paints at the ready. AK's dirty yellow. Flash gets yellow from Citadel. We're definitely going to need that for the edge highlighting. And I guess I have some AK dirty yellow on my palette here, so let's just try and layer this. It looks fairly thin, so let's just apply another coat here. I think it's too thin. Or perhaps it's okay. Perhaps it is sufficiently thinned down, because I do want to I want to try and apply a layer of yellow shade, which is really more of an orange shade. But I think it'll look pretty good as a means to get those low lights and to get the helmet details to kind of pop. At least that's the hope. So how's it going, Punkstar? Are you hobbying as well, or are you just hanging? If you are hobbying, let me know what you're working on over at your hobby desk. I'm always up for spreading and feeding off of the hobby camaraderie of these streams. This is way too thin. It's going to need several coats. Maybe we'll just get some more AK Dirty Yellow and thicken that mix. Just organizing some 80 Tyranids? Oh, no big deal. It's a little bit of a humble brag, eh? I feel you. 80 Tyranids. Oh, you know, it is a swarm army. It is to be expected. Though I think you could... There's a way to build and play Tyranids so they're a bit more elite, I think. So I don't want to typecast, you know. I don't want to feed the stereotype that Tyranids can only be a horde army. Let's get a second coat of the dirty yellow on here. Yeah, it's called dirty yellow, but it's not all that dirty. You'd think it'd be more like a khaki or something. It is fairly vibrant. On this first fire dragon I have here, I painted the Melt-A-Bomb, or maybe it's a fusion grenade. This disc on his back, I painted it metal, but I wonder if that should just be black. This might probably would look better. Even the barrel tip is not good. There's not going to be too much metal on the Fire Dragon scheme I have here, because I do want that to be bronze eventually. I think I've convinced myself. Maybe that disc in the middle can stay metallic. Okay, we'll get a little bit of metallic going. How's it going, Pyro? Thanks for tuning in. DS, welcome. Welcome to the hobby stream. I appreciate the company, everybody. So, new Sanguinary Guard, hot or not? Ooh. I wonder if I made a poll for that on a previous stream or not. I don't like them. I think the new Sanguinary Guard are not hot. I think I could probably make a video on just like the design critique of the new Sanguinary Guard. But I think that moment has passed. I don't think it's worth the effort. And every defense I've seen of the new Sanguinary Guard, sorry, it often seems to be praising features that they could have had while retaining all of the strong elements that the Sanguinary Guard have lost in terms of their iconic aesthetics. It's always points like, oh, the proportions are way cooler, or they're more detailed, right? You could still have all your iconic features and that good silhouette with what you've described, with what you're praising, right? It's not like you have to have one at the cost of the other. You like them more than the OG? I mean, look, everyone's entitled to their opinion. People can like whatever they so choose. I think you can make a case that they are a bad adaptation of what Sanguinary Guard are, but you can still like them. It's like, I don't like... Similarly, I don't like New Lamartis either. But I can appreciate, or I can understand, certainly, how people could like it. Okay, so here's my old Cassandora yellow wash, and we'll do a little bit of an experiment and see if it's adequate for a Fire Dragon helmet shade or wash to bring out those details on the helmet. Now I find with washes, when they get super potent when there's very little left. I'm trying to be mindful of that. Now, this doesn't seem to be too bad. Okay, I think that's creating a decent color. You know what, I should pull up my GW official Fire Dragon reference on another tab for myself. Dia says, I don't really like Astaroth. The shoulder pads of Marines are not great upside down. Yes, that is it. I wholly agree. It's an odd choice. I don't know why you wouldn't. Like, I get that the pose is iconic, and it's a good pose, but you're right. It's just something about shoulder pads being upside down looks super weird. When they are upturned, like, you have a lot of poses of Marines on Chaos and Loyalist where you can see that they've, their arms are outstretching, pointing. You can kind of see underneath. And it seems like when the arm is upside down but lateral, or I guess perpendicular to their center, it looks okay. But as soon as you start to bring your arm in line with your center, like how Astaroth's is, it begins to look a little weird. Well, you know what? It looks very weird. I don't know why they just didn't design, like, some obscuring element, like parchment or some accessory. His hair, like, you have options to hide awkward, aesthetic limitations because of miniature model making. With, like, these different design features. It was an odd choice to not obscure that. I feel like that's something an art director would immediately point out. That shoulder pad looks very weird upside down. We should send this back to the CAD or the modelers and just do another version. And what do we got here? Oh, so I painted a bit more orange towards the back end. Interesting. There's a little slight gradient on the fusion cell. I'm assuming that's what it is. That's my headcanon. That's the ammo. Drowy? I don't know how to pronounce your name. Sorry about that. But welcome to the chat. Welcome to the stream. Thanks for tuning in. You're saying, honestly, I love the new spears. I'm welcome for more weapon options. That's cool. That's neat. They look very, well, spears are a very angelic weapon, right? It's very elegant. So I think it's very fitting. I just wish they kept the old masks and wings. Yep, I agree. Don't have a problem with their bodies, just the heads. Also miss the axes. So hard to get good axes. Yeah, that's true. The axes are probably more iconic, and, that's what Dante uses, right? So it's kind of fun to pair like with like, so I get what you're saying. Yeah, the masks are certainly less inspired. They also have a worse silhouette. Like the Sanguinary Guard helmets had quite an awesome, semi like paintings of Renaissance like saints and such. It's that kind of angelic visage that they had on their silhouette. Those spiky crowns or halos, I suppose. And it was a pretty neat look. It's a shame it has been lost. Okay, let's see if I can just put some orange on the bottom of this. Maybe that is sufficient. Oh no, my grade, I've screwed it up. Okay, we saved it. Don't worry, guys. It's all good. Disaster averted. That's fairly adequate, I think. This guy probably needs a similar treatment. I assume everyone's picking up Space Marine too. I will be. I think any Space Marine fan will. Is this too much of a wish fulfillment, right? It's just like how I imagined it would be, you know? A lot of that energy. I watched the earlier trailers for Space Marine 2, and you know, basically since for the last maybe month and a half, I kind of just went media blackout because I kind of like not knowing everything. You know, I'm already convinced. And so, I haven't seen the full lengths of customization, but I hope it's adequate enough to make myself a little Firekeeper's Marine for multiplayer. That would be very cool. That would please me greatly. Seems like I have a little bit of the allergies today, so apologies for the sniffles. They are lengthy, Punkstar. The customization options. Perfect. That's a good sign. The only like feature. Yeah, I assume I can change the color of the arms from like the standard armor color, but can you change the wrist color specifically? That's what I need, and I know it's a little bit of a... It's a little maybe more specific than usual, right? So I'll live with it, you know, if you can't, you can't. But oh boy. Customization is very good from what I hear. It might take a while to unlock all the options, which is both good and bad. Yeah, that's fine. I don't mind unlocking options, right? It's not an issue. Gives you something to work towards, a little sense of aesthetic progression to make your guy exactly how you want. That's neat. Kind of mapping the path, you know. I can play as a salamander boy until I'm able to customize to my successor adequately enough. And that's a little bit of art imitates life anyways, so I don't mind. We might add some things later, like Crimson Fist style things. Okay, well, fair enough. Yeah, it should be. I'll work with what I got. I think it'll be a fun game regardless. Should be a fun time. And then its longevity for me, I think, will just come down to how strong, or I guess how competent the multiplayer design is, right? Because that's what'll determine the longevity of its multiplayer. Can't really judge it substantively until we get our hands on it. But hopefully it can harness some of that early Helldivers energy. That's what I want. If it does that, I'll be, I think, sufficiently pleased. Okay, let's get some of these small black details cleaned up. And clean up that blemish on the gun too. Pyro, you're actually hobbying, trying to do scales for your Alpha Legion. Impressive. Green stuff scales? Do you have a scale roller? Or are you just sculpting by hand? And my humblest apologies, dude. I can't. It's too difficult. Your name's too difficult to pronounce with any confidence. Drowie. Okay, yeah, you are working on a custom chaplain to proxy as Grimaldus. Ah, very cool. Okay, let's see if it's possible to just line these. They actually modeled them super thin. Don't love that choice. Might actually be easier to clean them up after the fact. Oh god. This is terrible. You know what? I shouldn't have even tried. I shouldn't have even bothered. My god. Can we erase it? Can we erase it a little bit? Maybe. Well, only so much, honestly. Yeah, it was dumb. It's unnecessary. Unnecessary and not worth the yield, I don't think. Right, it's got these little notches. You can hit those black, and then I figure that would have a similar readability to these official fusion cells. But otherwise not worth the effort. So let's get some game color black and Yeah, I think I can get away with just kind of tapping those squares. Yeah, that's all right. Hey, just catching up on chat. Tramari, welcome. Good to see ya. Tiny Tim's Pies. Wait, Tiny Tim's Tiny Pies. You simply won't go tinier. Yeah. I think there's scale rollers on Green Stuff World. Yeah, there might. It sounds likely. I mean, they often have the Green Stuff accessories, right? DS says a friend in Eastern Europe got their physical copy early. Online isn't live, but playing the campaign. Ah, oh, nice score. Yeah, I'll play it when it goes live on the line. I'll see if I can. We'll do a stream test. I wonder if it'll look like painted plastic miniatures or not. We'll see. We will see. I can probably build up the yellows on his helmet now. Well, this is the old one anyways, right? So this guy's helmet was done with yellow ink. Just Liquitex yellow ink, nothing fancy. Honestly, it's kind of similar. Similar to the... I mean, it's glossier for sure. And it's probably over a brighter base. We'll build up this guy's helmet, though. Hold on, I gotta blow my nose. Those allergies are getting to me. Alfarius, welcome. Welcome to the stream. Good to see you. You're saying at Mr. 40K, and your semi-professional opinion is needed. I've begun work on my generic Space Marines painted like Deathwatch. Any named characters that could be fun to run with my Cope Watch? So you're playing generic Space Marines painted as Deathwatch. Any named characters that'd be fun to run with them? I mean, it depends, right? Like, it depends really, like, on the theme and kind of sort of thing you're trying to do. I don't hate the idea of an Inquisitor working with the Deathwatch, right? Like an Eisenhorn calling in Deathwatch to help him with his, he's an Ordo Xeno Sky, right? I don't hate that idea. I don't think he has rules, though, anymore, unless I'm mistaken. Which is dumb. Super dumb. He's like the most popular Inquisitor. At least, I don't know, maybe that's just my bias. I feel like Eisenhorn is. Well, you have your Artemis, you have your Deathwatch character. It's just Artemis, though, I think. And beyond that, if you're trying to bring in Loyalist characters... It's a bit weird, right? If you bring in K-Van Shrike or something, like, I don't know. Why isn't he with the Raven Guard? It feels to me, unless you have a really good thematic spin, right? So that's on you to sell. But it feels like a power grab or a weird thematic reach. Or like a power grab. Like disguising itself as a thematic reach. Which isn't I don't think that's the most tasteful, on the tabletop. It's just my opinion. What do I think my next thematic list build is going to be? I have in mind an Eldar one, honestly. Not Aspect Warrior related. Maybe more of like a Saimhan. Saimhan. We'll see how the pronunciation of that unfolds in the video. Eisenhorn isn't in the Codex, but he has 10th edition rules. I appreciate the pointer, Punkstar. Yeah, he's a named character that I think is pretty... Well, any Xenos Inquisitor. There's that bald lady, right? The one they released in 9th edition? Or maybe 8th edition. I can't remember, but she has a pet dragon. Like a little dragon friend. She's Ordo Xenos, so it's pretty, pretty thematic, you could say, to have either of those two in there. Gotta paint his yellow chin. Did this guy have his chin painted yellow? Oh, he doesn't. Okay, we gotta do that. That's a priority. If he doesn't have his chin yellow, the rest of his squad mates will be teasing him, for sure. Get a load of Steve. You could do Uriel Ventress. He's canonically was in the Death Watch. Says, is my screen just stirred? Yeah, Draway. What the 40 Alferi says. What the 40k. I looked at some of the Black Templar lads because I could make an excuse that they were Black Shields. Unaligned Space Marines whose original chapters hate them, but Death Watch finds cool. Yeah, I suppose that's that's an acceptable spin, right? I mean, ultimately, it's yours to do with as you please. Don't want to hobby shame, I don't want to. It's a weird line to kind of to find. It's weird. I don't want to hobby shame, but there's certainly something to certain things being more tasteful than others, right? And I think everyone would agree they would prefer for what they do to be well received. I don't think that's a spicy take. Thanks for stopping by, DS. You have a good evening. Yeah, the Liquitex ink is actually a very similar color to Casandora Yellow, but way glossier. A little bit of Steel Legion on the palette here. I think it's still alive. So we'll put that down first. You know what, maybe we can use that on these little orange gems. I think that seems like a good strategy. Maybe not. Maybe that's dumb. Maybe I should have just used red. Right? Just start with like a base of Wild Rider or something? Found that Cassius is now double Legends. You can't run him with Ultramarines or Deathwatch. Oh yeah, that's a bad deal. Bring up the Templars. Their Primaris upgrade sprue is one of the best. I only wish it and all the others had just one thing: more thematic weapons, like bolters with chapter-specific decorations. Yep. Yeah, you could, yeah, that'd be a good feature to have. Kind of like how the, well, let's be real, like the old Blood Angels and Dark Angels kits, and I'm presuming Space Wolves as well had those custom bolters. You know, I'm thinking of like that Dark Angels Veterans kit had a lot of like a whole bunch of bolt guns that were all differently like sigilled with angels or swords or what have you. It's a tragedy, the whole Deathwatch army. It's a real kick in the teeth. Yeah, it screams of just being out of touch. Yeah, but having no clue that they've sold people on a premise of investing time, money, and effort towards building something special and unique, and then saying, "Oh yeah, that's no longer supported with the rules that with those unique rules." Instead, now I can't remember the exact wording on the Warhammer Community article, but it's effectively go use generic Space Marine rules. It's just weird because like often I kind of castigate GW as being like so competitive or catering to the competitive base or just making design choices to serve the sales of product. And keeping Deathwatch viable just seems like a lucrative choice, right? Because you're just selling all sorts of Space Marine kits. You want to sell a bunch of Space Marine kits. Just come up with good rules for like Spectrus kill teams and Proteus, like all the mixed squad kill teams that require you to buy multiple kits. Just create rules for those. And now all of a sudden you have people buying multiple kits for one unit. I don't know. Especially if they had rules where you could ally them in, right? Like how the new codex kind of allows. Now all of a sudden you have all sorts of Imperium players saying like, oh, I could really use a Spectrus kill team to get some Omni Scramblers into my army, right? That kind of stuff. It's just a weird choice to get rid of Deathwatch. Beyond the kind of moral argument. It certainly feels rude. Especially when the index was... Like, why give them a detachment in the index? That creates a kind of assumption. Right? Like, I would expect, like, oh, okay, they're going to get a codex because they're getting their own detachment, right? Their own codex supplement, rather. Like the Blood Angels, Dark Angels, etc. Oh, so much for keeping that gun black. Whatever, that's adequate enough. Eye lenses, I'm probably gonna have to go with pink, or, you know, red. Glowing red. Maybe it's more of an orange, I suppose. Let's try it on this guy first. Good old Games Workshops. Yeah. It's part of the reason why I made the channel. I couldn't believe how tolerant, like honestly, the 40k player base is like the most tolerant of being poorly treated. It's just it's like abused wife situation or something. Like, it's like, oh, we're being treated so terribly. Well, we'll just continue. And I was just perplexed. It's kind of like a situation like, why isn't anyone talking about this? And then it turns out, after making a few videos, it seems like a lot of people don't want to talk about it. There's certainly a lot of, let's just pretend how awesome and perfect everything is. There's a lot of that energy, for sure. Yeah, I think there's probably a large portion of the player base that just loves their Warhammer but hates Games Workshop, right? Or at least their practices as of late, right? Last few editions. Punkstar says, you're not a real Warhammer fan until you hate Games Workshop. You know what? That's pretty good. Someone online, eh? Well, they seem pretty smart. Look, it's complicated. I don't necessarily hate Games Workshop, but I think they make a lot of poor choices. And in the moment, yes, there are moments of hate for sure. Tremari says, do you think your Space Marine chapter would hunt the Gengar Hive Fleet? It'd be interesting if you painted a model with the two. I think they would probably. Yeah, they're definitely like a Monster Hunter themed Salamander successor. That's kind of the hook I gave for my successor, my Firekeeper's successor. Would they hunt Gengar specifically? Maybe, right? Like if Gengar is as spooky as I imagine, and they're a real menace, right? A real menace to a sector, let's say, then maybe they would that Salamander's desire to protect and to remove the haunting Gengars, right? Maybe that would come into that would coalesce and cause them to go after them and try and rout them out of the segmentum or whatever. I could see that happening. As for painting the two of them together, I do have that Indomitus Marine unpainted, built but unpainted. The lieutenant with the Tyranid parts on him, and he has a combi flamer. A really nice sculpt. So that's an opportunity, I suppose, to have some Tyranid or some Gengar schemes on a Firekeeper's model. That's kind of cool. Pyro says, the only L for my Alpha Legion Horus Heresy army is if the Deathwatch Vets kit goes away. The only good way to get Space Marine shotguns. True. True. Like, where else can you get shotguns? The scout kit? And probably the Black Templar Sword Brethren, because I have scouts in there. Or, sorry, it's a Crusader Squad, not the Sword Brethren. The Crusader Squad. And then I guess the Judge Dredd guys. That's it. I don't know how well they scale for Marines, though. Probably okay. Pyro says, nah, I feel like a boomer with the whole 3-edition cycle. I'm from 2001. Don't you... don't your salamanders hunt monsters? Indeed, yes. I think they would probably enjoy, to a degree, fighting Tyranids, but I don't know. I've always kind of framed Tyranids as just being way more alien than the Monster Hunter creatures I imagine the Firekeepers would have on their homeworld, you know? Those kind of... It's very, in keeping with the Salamanders kind of idea. You have a home world that's filled with monsters that are deadly, right? Drowy says, plus that Lieutenant specifically has a great Monster Hunter vibe. Maybe even convert him to have a Tyranid bone sword with the actual Monster Hunter games. That's an option. Yeah, I didn't change his weapons. I gave him a head swap, because I had a spare Red Warden 3D printed helmet that looks really cool. But changing his weapons, you could make him a dual sword guy, because he's got 2 knives, right? So he could have that Monster Hunter dual sword energy. That's kind of a fun idea, right? Now we're getting into a conversion idea. Oh boy, right? Because you could do some green stuff in and create a, I don't know, pick a dual sword from Monster Hunter that's very iconic, right? I haven't played the newer games, but I assume some of those classic weapons are still there in Monster Hunter World and up to present. But a little silver and gold Rathian and Rathalos dual sword, that could be kind of neat. Maybe a little too special. I don't know. I wanted to keep some of the more custom weapons on the chapter commanders and captains. The lieutenant is pretty special, though. There's room. We'll see. We'll see. I wonder how much hobby passion Space Marine 2 can shift me for my off of Eldar. I wonder if I'll just get if my elephant, will get too swayed. Like, oh man, Space Marines are so cool. I just want to paint Space Marines now. I could see that happening. I think I might red contrast here in my paint bucket. Or maybe not. That is surprising. Well, the eye lenses are adequate, I guess, so you can probably just live with it. They don't need to have the contrast. You don't have to rush out and do them. What time are we at? Okay. We're an hour in, eh? Oh. Did start a bit earlier. And I started the stream a bit earlier today because I do have plans in the evening. But I don't have to wrap up in exactly a 2-hour stream, so we'll see how it goes. Yeah, we'll probably go no brighter than dirty yellow from AK, and then use flash kits for our edge highlighting. I think that's smart. For the yellow helmets and everything, all the yellow components, I think I'll probably have to mix in some off-white. We'll see. Crap, maybe I should have considered using this kind of technique for these fusion cells. How embarrassing. Because that would probably work just fine. Right, just use the edge of your brush. I'm better than that. I should have not let that happen. Cue up that Obi-Wan meme. Let's catch up with chat here. What are you guys saying? Alfarius says, I feel kind of strange because my... Dirge just subscribed. Thank you, Dirge. Alfarius was saying, I feel kind of strange because my largest army is Grey Knights, but I got them in 9th, and I don't find them fun to play in 10th. So 3,500 points of Grey Knights just stay on a shelf. Yep, that's kind of a trap. I mean, not a trap. It's... I don't know if it's by design or by accident on GW's part. I don't know. I try not to be conspiracy-brained, but I have fallen into not the exact same context, but a similar end result. I decided at the end of 8th that I would stop collecting armies because I like how they play. Because I just got immediately burned at that period of time with my Slaanesh demons. And I was like, oh, why? Like, you can't rely on GW to give you a consistent play experience with what you've bought into at an edition. And so you have that situation you find yourself in, Alfarius. And it's shitty. Like, no, there's no way around it, right? And it's not what you want, right? You can get a little bit of, like, leeway. GW can get a little bit of leeway in that regard just because it's it's only the index, and you got to see the codex comes out, and that's a fault of their rules writing paradigm of this trickle release of codexes, right? Because they've created a business model around releasing a incomplete game that, you know, wait and see for your codex to come out, and hopefully it serves you adequately. I need to fix my chair. Yeah, and so that's kind of where we find ourselves. So I've kind of stopped buying purchases for rules at the time. It's just, it only leads to bad feelings. For me anyways. And you know what? Like, competitive players can probably just, you know, roll with the punches, as they say, but I get, you know, everyone's different, but for myself, I get too attached with the things I create. Right? And when I was buying units because of how they played at the time, and I was getting excited about them and painting them, maybe to a bit, spending more time than average, let's say, than the average player. Just painting and making my guys and enjoying realizing them to the standard that I appreciate. And then just leads to bad feels. Hopefully, Alfarius, GW does your Grey Knights right in that they give you a playstyle that is closer to what you were sold when you first made them, when you first decided to commit to that investment, to that financial and financial time and I guess passion. I mean, passion kind of spills into everything, but I think they're different things. Right? Because you could have no emotional attachment and still do all your hobbying and put all the time in. Droy says that's so is conversion is the best part of the hobby. Love making custom characters. Hell yes. It's a person of culture. A statement of culture, let's say. Alfarius says I started 40k with them, but I don't really find it interesting to run anymore after they lost their psychic stuff. Yep, that's understandable. Droey says if the customizer is good, that'll so happen. Part of me actually wants to use it to test certain color schemes. Oh, that could be kind of cool. Interesting idea you got there. And Jory says, got a bug out for the night. Your boys look great. Can't wait to follow the chapter master, but have a good one. Thank you. And you have a good evening as well, Joey. Thanks for tuning in. Okay, let's return focus to the Flaming Drakes. I have another painting handle just sitting here. Why don't I just use that? Jeez. That makes things a little bit easier. Punkster says, I think for the first year of an edition there should be no codexes, so each faction can simmer in the edition, and once a year passes, all codexes come out. Oh man, Punkstar, you just kind of blew my mind. I love that. I wish we lived in that timeline. That is a great idea. Everything, and I don't know if it's just perception and fondness, but 8th edition's index period, very, very fun. 9th edition, or 10th edition also. And perhaps that's just things not being soured, but I think the souring comes from the slow trickle of rules and rules for thee, not for me, that brings with it. So you have an excellent point there. That's a great idea. Yeah, and you can take that concept a step further, right? Because you could imagine, use your imagination, and envision a paradigm where, since these indexes are just PDFs on their site, they could beta test during that year, right? The different detachments, or some at least, right? See how they roll. Now I wonder if you beta test detachments and people are already playing with them, if it just becomes a situation where you can't sell them the rules. Which is a stupid model to begin with, but that's our timeline. Welcome, Sliced Melon. Good to see ya. Alfaris says Tyrannic War Vets had their own kit and rules. Why is the kit so hard to find, and why does it come in fours? It's because it's old. It's an old kit, Alfarius. Slice Melon says, so many paint handles. Here I am with my one working on some Flesh Terrors. Nice. Yeah. Hell yeah. Let's get some love for those classic... Yeah, I think you can call them classic. They're like classic successors, like second founding successor chapters that GW no longer wants to cater to. You know, your Scythes of the Emperor, your Crimson Fists, right? I mean, Black Templars, yeah, they just won the lottery. They just won the lottery in GW's eyes, right? Okay, so probably have to brighten up those grays, and then from there, maybe we do some edge highlighting. Seth will live on in spirit with a captain with Red Rage enhancement. Yep, well, what other choice do you have, right? Give your captain enhancement, and you know, that's your chapter master. It's fun stuff. That's what you want. For sure, that's what feels good. Look, that's what you have to do when you're playing a very serious tournament game. It's serious business. You can't have too many units or too many upgrades. Because that leads to bad A bad play environment with bad balance. That's what causes imbalance. So just no chapter masters. Alfarius says, add with the 40k, I want to get the Tyrannic Warbets kit and paint them for my Copium watch. But holy bloody god, is it expensive. Yeah, you know, that kit has already paid for itself, the cost of its production, many times over, I'm sure, at this point. And yet, the price must increase. I suppose if it... I suppose that's how you keep your product perceived as highly valuable, right? Yeah, like to a degree, I can understand the cost of a new kit or model coming out, something very elaborate that spent years in production, and it finally works its way through the pipeline. And yeah, it's expensive, right? But for these older kits, it's feels a little arbitrary. Well, maybe that's not the right word. Where is my Dark Sea Gray? Here it is. Gotta try and brighten up his helmet plumes. See what we can do about that. Now we gotta go brighter. Alfarius in all caps. $90 for an incomplete squad? What heresy is this? Yep. I appreciate the sentiment. And no free shipping. LJ Holder. Welcome to the chat. Thanks for tuning in. Is this OG Metal or Failcast Fire Dragon? Neither. These are Artel Dragons. Sorry, Artel W's Flaming Drakes. Nothing to do with Eldar Fire Dragons at all. That's for sure. They look pretty cool. I like the look. They scale fairly well compared to like the newer GW stuff, but they dwarf the OG Aspect Warriors. Well, because they're so small, right? Very tiny. Little Carandrous Sliced Melon? Yep, absolutely. He is a small but tough guy. He's very strong. You know, he's kind of like a Wolverine. It's kind of charming. He's scrappy, as they say. Yeah, that's a better color for the white helmet plumes. Trying to evoke the Bealtan flex, right? The well, I guess attribution. They are a Bealtan aspect shrine, so gotta get the green and white in there. Is my reasoning. Yeah, it's better. That's a bit, at least more similar to the other guy. And from here, I guess we're on to edge highlighting on this guy, at least for the armor. Not really sure what to do with the gems. Maybe they should be green, or just red. I'm kind of scared to add too much green. Starts getting kind of Christmassy, you know? A bit too festive. Alright, where's my flash kits? Hey, Francois, thanks for tuning in. Welcome. Welcome to the Cool Guy Club. I wonder if I can rig this guy so I can keep him as a reference. Gems can be purple, eh, Melon? Okay. Well, I guess the edge highlighting commences. Francois, you're digging the yellow boots, eh? Especially the darker pauldrons. Second guy looks better than the first. Oh, cool. Well, I'm happy to... I'll take it. I'll take that, that win. Yeah, the first one I just kind of got too excited and started painting them before I was really ready to paint the whole unit. Here's a question for chat. What color should his base slag be? It's some kind of Imperial tank, maybe? The weird thing is that it has to, because of my Elder army, they're in water, right? So it's going to have to be partially submerged. So I don't know if that should be considered for the faction or, you know, if you make it a green tank or like a salamander's colored thing. I mean, it could be a flyer, you know, you never know. Yeah, still undecided there. I don't want to do ultramarines, even though it would look really good with the orange. Just because there's going to be blue water, right? Maybe it should be like a Carcharodon's, like a gray. And then it can better mesh with the basalt bases most of them are on. Oops, gotta move them out of the way. Punkstar says bluish gray, in my opinion, and Francois says, in my opinion, it's more yellow on the second guy's boots makes him better. Oh, interesting. Okay. Alfarius says neon pink. I don't know, Alfarius. I think this might be some Alpha Legion misinformation. Neon pink. I don't love it. You know, ideally, for me anyways, my sensibilities are that when you have these basing features or corpses of dead Marines or dead whatever, pick your faction, right? Necrons. I always think it's kind of fun to reference another faction that's existing in the setting. Creates a bit of story where you can, you know? And sometimes it's fun to poke at your friends. That's always a plus. Sons of Horus green. That might be a winner. That might be a winner. I love that color too. You know, if I could go back in time, I would probably make my Salamander successors a kind of teal rather than straight green. The straight green that they are is, you know, aside from the black arms, is largely a product of just painting them as salamanders and then choosing, after having many squads already completed, to change them into successors. Yeah, it's teals, those cerulean, those seafoam greens, you know, the Sabarite greens that, you know, GW has. All nice colors, man. And it's nice that no Marine really uses it anymore. None of the official schemes anyways. I love how little orange there is in this forearm. Let's catch up with chat. Alpha Legion teal green, Francois. I'm fine with that one. It's settled, Alpha Legion. Jeez. You guys. It has to have a bit of that green tabard in it to tie into the model, but also contrast heavily with the orange. LJ Holder says, at least it isn't yet another Eldar rune that they're standing on, like with the other Eldar models. Yeah, there's a bit of that. The Artel ones have a bit of that as well. I have a work in progress Autarch here, and you can see that this model is standing on an Eldar-esque kind of, like a Wraithbone something, right? But I suppose that's different than the rune bases that the Phoenix Lords are on anyways. So maybe disregard. Alfaris says I do that by giving all my guys Xenophase blades and then laughing at the Necron players before I get 4 C'tans thrown at my skull. Yeah, 4 C'tans. That's gross. That's a very fluffy list, certainly. C'tans are my theme. Don't judge me. I'm not being competitive. It's my lore to have 4 C'tans in all my lists. Francois says, can put a bit of orange rust on the waterline too. Oh, okay. Maybe moss for the green tabard to tie into the base. Wraithbone, and you painted it like concrete. Yeah. Well, I wanted the basing elements of this one to match the kind of rune constructs that the other GW models are on that I've painted. If that's making sense, right? Like there's some Eldar basing bits you get with vehicles, like weird little, I don't know what to describe them as, almost like totems, and I paint them all in like a cool white kind of material. Yeah, when I paint concrete, it's more of a, maybe it's not coming across on camera, but I paint concrete generally darker than that. Francois says, fought 2 in my 3K game the other day. Ended up throwing a squad of Deathwing Knights at both, and then ignored them till they were the last models on the board. Yeah. Sometimes well, often it feels like it's the case. It's better to ignore the unkillable targets. You just kind of force yourself to work around them. Shoot what you can kill and all of that. I see your message, Francois, of the rusty, mossy Alpha Legion tank with the still water for the Fire Dragon base here, but are you referring to the teal that GW, not Forge, like not the color shift Forge World, right? You're talking about the teal, the Seafoam kind of, I guess, yeah, teal that they use for, I think on the Havocs, you can find images that GW has painted for the Alpha Legion. Yeah, I can't make any promises about rust and moss, but certainly I don't mind painting the... I think a teal could look good. Gray is also tempting, but we'll see. Whoops. That's a mistake. Alright, he's looking pretty good. Just the thigh plates and the helmet, I think. Banner pulls on backpacks, yay or nay? I adore banners, and I think, honestly, this is my sensibility because I have a similar, well, I've discussed with you, a similar style of projects. I think if you're trying to flex nostalgia in a way, right, with a the old classic successor schemes, I think the banner poles only serve that. Okay, let us, kind of cutting it tight for time here. Let's bronze up these barrels. I like my fusion to be bronze. Got some old Balthazar here. It's still alive. Always put it right in the metal color bottle cap. That's a valid point, Francois. Yeah, I assumed that that was the kind of perception or the framing you were using when describing the moss and rust of the tank. It is something to consider. I have, in the word bearers, I have an exploded word bearers marine. So, to your point, maybe if I'm not putting any other, I don't want to have too many random basing elements right from different factions. Alright, let's get a bit of blue. Just need a little bit of blue to mix with some some gray to edge highlight the gun casings. Let's get a bit of white in there too. Actually, you know what? Before we shift gears completely, let's see if we can add some definition to the helmets. You're back, Punkstar. Welcome. Back in time for the stream to end. Well, not just yet. Sliced Melon says, time to destroy some Reavers? Nice. Repurpose them. You can rebuild them. Shy Onion, welcome to the stream. Thoughts on Night Lords? Well, Night Lords are pretty cool. What's not to like? Or if you're asking about rules, I think they're fine. I think it's probably a playstyle that has a higher skill floor that's required to do work with, but it seems to be, and I think I said this in a video, it seems to be the version of the Night Lord's rule set, probably the best version we've seen with regards to efficacy, probably, in terms of battle shock or morale failures yielding tangible benefits. I think. I'm not sure how that's aged, though, that position, since the Codex has had time to kind of settle. In terms of, theme of Night Lords, they're great. A great, much beloved Traitor Legion. Sometimes you just want your bad guys to be bad, you know? Punkstar says, speaking of Reavers, a thematic list build for the scary Marines would be cool. But that is only Reavers, right? Like Reavers and Chaplains? That's the only scary units. Am I mistaken? You're, I guess, just leaning into high aggro with morale, any morale-related unit. Slaanesh demands tribute from your Eldar. They need another hour. Oh, wow. You heard it here first, people. We'll see. I did start early, because I do have plans this evening, but I don't have to hard stop at 7, so we'll see how the momentum goes. Thoughts on Hellbrute, the model? Well, look. Hellbrutes are a divisive topic. I don't like the easy-to-build Hellbrute. I think toes are lame. Right? I don't think Hellbrutes with toes evoke fear. It's maybe a Nurgle Hellbrute, okay? But, like, I think people love Dreadnoughts, and as a means to further separate them from Dreadnoughts by giving them toes, I don't think most people appreciate. Other than that, like, I don't hate the look of the Hellbrute. I think it's a cool, like, almost demon engine. A possessed dreadnought, if you will. Like, it has a good look. I like the multi-part plastic kit's feet much more than the easy-to-build plastic kit. Not easy-to-build. Monopose, that Dark Vengeance Monopose Hellbrute with his toes. The Contemptor is greater than the Hellbrute? Yeah, I think so. I think everyone likes the Contemptor. I built the new, the Age of Darkness Contemptor. I finally built mine. And, I was actually surprised by how intricate and how many pieces it uses to get all the to maintain all the articulation from the resin kit. And oh man, it's just such an awesome looking model. Okay, let's get some Nuln Oil on this barrel. Oh, on both barrels, really. The Contemptor, it's in your sight here in England. Oh, this is not contrast. This is contrast. Where's my Nuln Oil? I can't believe the Red Corsairs have more presence than the Night Lords. Oh no! Yeah, it's kind of true. Huron and yeah, they have a character. They have a named character. Yeah, it's a big bummer. The Traitor Legions should, at minimum, each have one character. And especially in this, like, 10th edition, like, no sub-factions, detachment, anyone use whatever you want paradigm. It's like, now you'll have those competitive people wanting to, oh, I'll pick up the new Night Lords character for their Chaos Space Marines army, because it doesn't matter, right? Now's the time to release traitor characters. I'll have to roll back the music here a bit. Okay, let's... Is this paint dead? Yeah, I let that go to waste. That sucks. The Nuln Oil spill? Oh, hopefully not. I feel like I've spilt my fair share already. I don't want any more spills. You were super happy with the easy to... Or sorry, Francois says, I was super happy that Age of Darkness Contemptor wasn't easy to build. Yes, I kind of despised the previous Contemptor plastic kit because he had the stiff leg look, you know, like his legs don't bend. Very awkward, very undynamic, especially compared to the resin Horus Heresy Contemptors at the time. And now this new plastic one is like, oh, you can... Well, it's just easier to work with plastic to get good poses. It is vastly superior, I think. It's too bad they discontinued the sale of the Legion Contemptor chassis, the full bodies. Now you just get that faceplate or chest plate, which I get, right? Like the new easy to build Contemptor, or not, the new plastic Contemptor is easier to build than the previous resin kits, but the lack of the highly customizable Legion variants does suck. But I think you can always get those from China. Pretty sure you can still find them on the interwebs. That's not going to work. Okay, let's try this color. Oh my god. I think, whoops. Oh my god, disaster. I think that color's a little closer. Can stand to be a bit more gray though. Francois, yeah, you have the Battle of Calth one too. Yeah. Yeah, it is very stiff. Very stiff looking. Good for the Thousand Suns. Let's clean up that edge highlight a bit. Yeah, it's looking pretty neat, I think. Punkstar says, just found out you can take Noise Marines without sonic weapons and just bolt guns. Lol. Yeah, because why would you want to, right? Look, I'm very confident they will not be able to have bolt guns at all once they get a new kit. Shy Onion says, I find it so funny you play Eldari and Salamanders. Well, you know, you gotta understand your enemies to understand yourself, right? And I kind of just, it's like cyclical, because I also have a collection of Slaanesh demons. It's useful for narrative setups. Not that I do like thematic batter ups often. I mean, I haven't done them since like the beginning of the edition, really, but it is good for that. You know, you get those cool narrative matchups. Nice, yeah, the Gnome Oil and the Bronze and the Edge Highlight go a long way. That's great. That guy looks fairly table ready, right? I suppose you could clean up his faceplate a little bit. Brother, get the flamer, the heavy flamer. Indeed. Those flamers auto-hit. Their lightning fast reactions are rendered useless because flamers are homing weapons. You cannot escape them. Exactly, Francois, exactly. Gotta fight a great antagonist, and models with different shapes and color schemes are the best. True. Very true. Oh, we should make this orange or something. Maybe green. Alright, let's try and clean this up a little bit. That's better. Now his mask's looking a little sharper where it meets that chin. His mask is fairly clean. Oh, we could dab his fusion cells a little bit. Shy Onion asks, what's my favorite unit in my Eldari army and why? I don't have a wholesome answer. I like having an army with attractive female models, honestly. So those are the models and units I like better. Like Banshees are badass, right? And they're nice looking. Same with Amelin Shadow Guide, that Legends character. That's a nice model. Very attractive. And some of the Artel sculpts. Oh yeah, like look at this one. I mean, the Yvrain from Artel I have here. Right? So it's pinned, but still loose. But man, look at this model. Just tremendous. Just like awesome, right? Like, it's just great. Shroud Runners, not Shade Runners. Yeah, Shroud Runner bikes. They're really nice. From a rules point of view, I don't know. It's always kind of like a fleeting thing, right? Rules shift with the edition, but I like Osterman and Dire Avengers. I think they've already had in the games I played with them some pretty epic heroic moments, like Osterman and his Dire Avengers were assaulted by Farsight, doing a 3-inch drop, and just like trying to obliterate him, and like they survived and then crunched back, man. Like Osterman took out Farsight. It's freaking crazy. Freaking crazy, man. It's felt a bit bad for my opponent though, but because he wanted to have that moment, right? Everyone wants that moment for their guy. And it's like, oh, sorry, not sorry, right? One of those situations. Okay, so before my paint dries up, that slate blue or slate gray, let's try and do this fusion gun. Francois says better be the warp cabbage. The warp cabbage. Look, the Phoenix Lord for the warp spiders turned out great, and it is a nice looking female model, right? Technically, but it is more cool than beautiful. I think the paint job turned out well. Like it's beautiful in that sense. In terms of the physical form, it's not like as beautiful as like the Yvrain model, for example. But yeah, I like the warp cabbage. Shy Onion says something raising, and it's not my win. Nice. I understood that reference. Francois says my favorite Eldar model are Ghost Warrior Assassins and the Armor Cast Phantom. Nice. Shy Onion says never got the appeal with Eldari, only like the Wraith Knight. They are literally England. Same, the Wraith constructs are really cool, but other than that, they are skinny people with goofy helmets. Well, yeah, they're elves. I don't have to tell you, they're space elves, right? It's very much what they are. But there's an appeal to the elf kind of class or faction, right, in fantasy or sci-fi, I think. The not tough, the glass cannon sort of archetype, highly skilled but frail but deadly, right? Whoops. Let me scroll here. I know we're at the bottom already. The Wraith units are awesome, like the Dreadnoughts of 1960s race cars. Yeah, Wraith units have a great aesthetic, and I think even non-elf enjoyers could appreciate probably like a Wraith army, probably, right? There's usually a hook for every faction that has like pretty broad appeal, and I think for the Eldar it's probably the Wraith lane. Shy Onion says they pride themselves about ruling a galaxy a while ago, and even after all, they're following themselves as higher beings. As an English person, I can confirm this. Well, perhaps. Yeah, I don't know, I think that makes them certainly different, right? They have a different take on the galaxy. I don't love the overconfidence that like lacks wisdom. I think it's a bit farcical. I think it's probably a product of 40K as a setting, and when you think of it as a persisting story, certain things don't translate as well. I think that's one of them. But it's like a pretty in-depth conversation. That's why they are England. Yeah, I understand the analogy, Shy Onion. It fits, right? It fits. What do you can't argue that. Okay, we just have Spirit Stones left. I have some black on my palette, and I do have some dead green here. I think I can bring it back to life. Ah, look, we have resurrected the green. Oh, you know what? We're doing blue. Well, do I want to do blue, really? They have blue on the GW Fire Dragons, but we have red and blue. I don't know about that. We're Biel-Tan here, right? So maybe their gems should be the dark green. at least the Ynnari kind of know what they're doing. The Tower, the UN, they have an interesting motive, and it sounds good, but they are a bit annoying. The Middle East is all of chaos. Oh, jeez. Yeah, it works. In America's it works, I don't know. Yeah, I agree with some of that. Yeah, Tyranids are Australian wildlife. Oh yeah, totally, Francois. Nothing wrong with preferring. I don't, I don't think there's a right or wrong for any faction for creating your own or going for the GW existing lore. In the case of like how I went with Biel-Tan here for the Eldar, but. Really, I went with the Biel-Tan because I like... It might be nostalgia from those old rule books, but I just love that white and green Biel-Tan scheme. So it's sort of a nostalgia pick, I guess. And there's also like a disproportionate amount of love. That's not the best word to use. It seems like a player base. It's not a hot take at all for me to say that the player base largely seems to give more respect and more representation and more recreation of GW's Marines than GW's factions of, Xenos races, basically, because the same applies to Chaos Space Marines as well. Demons don't matter, and it could in part be because of rules and lack of lore that is set for Biel-Tan, right? Like, or Eldar in this case. But honestly, like, I feel that the problem, I don't know. I feel like the choice in choosing to represent a Xenos faction that exists in the lore only helps the perception that they are as of significant importance as the Imperial ones. Did that make sense? Or was that just word salad? Right? Like in choosing to, for instance, in choosing to play Hive Fleet Behemoth, Hive Fleet Behemoth feels more significant as an actor in the lore, in the same way Dark Angels do, because people recreate them at a much higher rate. That's kind of the lay of the land, sort of, right? Like, you know, even like myself, like starting Space Marines, I was like, oh, I like salamanders, and they have cool lore, and you get big into that, and then you want to recreate them, right? And I think it's kind of wholesome in a way to do that for a Xenos army, right? Where the majority of Xenos players will make their own craft worlds, and there's nothing wrong with that. In the same way, there's nothing wrong with doing it for Marines. But because it's underrepresented in the Xenos factions, I think there is a bit of an allure there, at least for myself. Yeah, Francois says the best part of the hobby is getting to make your own chapter/faction. I agree. I totally agree. It's more of a meta commentary, I guess, is what I'm coming from, right? Like, you see in your local play group, at least in my own, right? Eldar is very underrepresented, and when you do see any Eldar players, very rarely are they of a particular craft world. It's usually, you know, their own custom one. Whether that's for wholesome thematic purposes or competitive flexibility, I can't say when you're meeting people at tournaments or whatever, or at events, right? But there is a wholesome quality to, you know, oh, here's my Eldar army, it's Biel-Tan, they use Biel-Tan rules, like, done and done, right? In the same way you would expect that to hold for Marines, right? I bring my Salamanders out. It's like, oh yeah, is a Salamander's successor army. I'm using Salamander's rules, right? There seems to be less of that for the Xenos factions. I don't think that's untrue. Okay, I'm going to add a little bit of white to these gems, and then we're going to wrap it up, guys, because we're in overtime, and I do have stuff to do. So I added a bit of off-white to my green here. I'm just going to try and enhance those gems a little bit. Just a touch. Can't get in there. Oh, starting to look shiny. Very cool. Might have to just glaze that down a little bit. Yes, Punkstar, it is ending soon. However, I'll probably stream similar time tomorrow. Similar time tomorrow. Okay, guys. It begins. We're wrapping up. Thanks to everyone who tuned in and chatted and shared in the hobby camaraderie. Thanks to everyone who liked the stream as well. You guys are the real hobby heroes. Anyways, look at this guy. Looking pretty good, leads to. Look, 2 out of 5. Not bad. Not bad. We'll continue the Fire Dragons on tomorrow's stream. Anyways, catch you guys in the next one. See ya.